Ask me, what do you do for work? And I say a little bit of everything. I mean, a little bit of everything. Today's project is taking this plane back to Arkansas. Got a little fixer-upper project here going on. So, anyway, yep, should be fun.
It's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It's Monday, January 17th. I have a lot to talk about. This is my third video and we have to talk about something that happened with John David Duggar. Okay, so Jessa Duggar Seawald is over on her YouTube building a house or renovating a house and doing things with the church that Ben's a part of, which, by the way, you guys, if you haven't listened to his sermons, whoa, hold on tight. You can listen to them on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, through Emmanuel Baptist Springtail. Yikes, let's just say. Okay, so one person we haven't talked about a lot is John David. John David is not calling his brother Josh. John David has publicly said he didn't want to be like Josh. John David Duggar has long been praised by the public as being the most studious and best son and the most loyal and the best upstanding citizen. He's a constable. He has the medic company. He's a pilot. Yes, all these things. So the public has always kind of, those of the fans of the Duggars have always liked John David because he doesn't want to be like his brother, whatever. Well, I stumbled into something by accident because John David's dad is Jim Bob. Yeah. So Jim Bob has been selling planes. I was looking at their plane fleets. So did you know that at one point they had like 15 planes? Yes, that's right. So Jim Bob had a company called Duggar Aviation, and at one point I believe he had 7 planes. And John David has Medic Choppers, which is another company that he has for his medic chopper aviation stuff that he does with his medic non-profit organization. And he became a commercial pilot not long ago. He has been working as like a charter pilot. So apparently a source told me that people pay John David to fly them here, there, and everywhere, like millionaires. If they want a private flight and they need to go somewhere, they will just hire John David and John David will fly them there. So he has been sort of building up his stock of planes at Medic Choppers. Some of the planes that Jim Bob had, he gave to or handed over to Medic Choppers. And then Jim Bob has also given like 3 of the planes to Jeremiah. And I don't know why. Jeremiah is going to do like a flight school, 22-year-old teaching people how to fly. I don't get it. Okay, maybe log some more hours flying before you start teaching people how to fly. Anyways, and that'll become relevant here in a second. So I noticed that on the 30th of December, Jim Bob unloaded one of his planes, and it was the big one. So if you remember back on Counting On, John David took his sisters in a plane to Tennessee to film and record a CD, like Happy Heart CD, with their aunt Deanna. And while they were there, he flew them in a jet, a private jet, like not a huge one, but a 10-seat plane that is a Mitsubishi. I can't remember what brand, what kind it is, but it has 10 seats and it's a small private plane or jet, multi-engine. Anyways, so that plane itself, Jim Bob had been trying to sell, and he finally apparently sold it on the 30th of December. Now, that part, I was like, okay, that's weird. Why is he dumping all of these planes? Why is he giving everything away? Then a couple days later, Elijah, who works for Jim Bob, posted a story on his Instagram about what he does for his job.
People ask me, what do you do for work? And I say a little bit of everything. I mean, a little bit of everything. Today's project is taking this plane back to Arkansas. Got a little fixer-upper project here going on. So, anyway, yep, should be fun.
So as you see in the video, it's a completely destroyed plane. Like there's the wings have detached from one side of the plane, maybe the other. There was extensive damage to the front, nose, to the area. Like, this plane is in complete and utter disrepair. And on the plane, the tail tag, the private tag, the N number, which is the registration number for a private plane, was slightly visible. And some eagle eyes, I think, in Reddit noticed that this plane was registered to John David Duggar. So initially when I saw it, I thought, is Jim Bob buying a fixer-upper? Weird. Like, buy used, save the difference, taking it to a whole new level. So I ran some reports and I did some research after one of my followers said, oh, that was owned by John and it was in a plane crash. And I was like, wait, what? Yeah. So here's what happened. John David Duggar has owned Medic Chopper. He formed this company a couple years ago. And this plane that was in the wreck is registered to John David. The company itself is in John David's name. There is nobody else other than the tax person, Jimmy Burns, listed. He's the only person. Like, there's no other officers. If some of you are wondering if like the Bates are a part of this, no, it's just John David. That's Medic Choppers. And so the plane that's registered in his company's name crashed on October 29th in Tennessee. So the plane that crashed is a Piper. It has a Piper PA-30, I believe. It has like 6 seats, and it's a double engine fixed wing plane that it doesn't go super fast, and it's not a super big plane, but it's a multi-engine plane. So you have to have multi-engine like classification to fly it, which John David did. The plane crashed outside of Waverly, Tennessee. So the plane had been used previously to fly from Kentucky to Pennsylvania. So previously, before all of this crash happened, John David was in Kentucky dealing with the tornadoes that hit there with his medic company. He took the plane and he flew it to Pennsylvania because Nathan Bates got married to Esther in Pennsylvania. Once the flight was over, and once the wedding was over, which the wedding was on the 23rd, and he and Abby were photographed and they shared a post on their Instagram. The plane then traveled to Tennessee, and then in the span of a couple days, it flew to Tennessee, to Gallatin, to Nashville. It was sort of in the Tennessee area. They had not made their way back to Arkansas yet. So they were not back home. They were sort of staying in Tennessee. So the flight that this happened on was on October 29th. And when I looked up the crash details, they did not actually go to the site. The investigators didn't. And there was no reported injuries. There was 3 people on board. There was substantial damage, as I stated, to this plane. And the occurrence that they had listed for this incident, which is preliminary and obviously subject to change, was fuel exhaustion. So anytime a plane crashes, there is an investigation, which is they have to report accidents to the FAA. And then there is the NTSB, which is another sort of branch of the FAA that investigates all crashes. Now, crashes of commercial jets are very rare these days, but private planes and smaller planes, they still crash on average 3 times per day. So they're not super rare occurrences, but they're also there's tons of pilots, so not every pilot has a crash. That makes sense. So the plane apparently went down, and the current listed reason is fuel exhaustion, meaning the plane did not have enough fuel in it to reach the desired location. So the plane ran out of fuel. And why the plane ran out of fuel is not clear right now. So it's still under investigation by the NTSB. And at this point, the plane ride was listed for personal use. He was not apparently flying anyone that he knew or that he was paying. I'm hoping that the other 2 passengers weren't Abby and Gracie, but it could have been based on where they were and what was going on at the time with the wedding. Anyways, so the crash happens. They crash into an area the plane crashes into an area of Tennessee, which is in woods. It's right out, not far from a house. And there's this area in Waverly where the houses are sparsely There's a couple houses, that's it. And they crashed into the woods, not far from a home. And the plane then was getting picked up by Elijah to bring back to Arkansas after X amount of months sitting in Tennessee. There's no other details. And the Duggars didn't say anything. So that plane now is gone. I don't know how you would fix a plane like that. I think people fix planes, but anyways, the plane is a loss at this point. So John's plane is down. And so I was like, okay, well, that's weird. He's flying people and he's crashed here. I wonder if, I'm glad everyone's okay. I'm glad nobody got hurt. There's not a lot known about this. So I started then looking at other planes that he owns to see if there had been other incidents. So every single time something happens in a plane, if it's an accident or an incident, you have to report it to the FAA. And so he actually got cited in April for an incident related to a helicopter. So I was like, okay, so he got cited in April because a helicopter he was flying, he sort of was hovering over an area and he was doing auto rotations and he was practicing hovering and he didn't realize that there was like a muddy ground underneath him. He like lost track of where he was, and the landing gear made contact with the ground and it caused the helicopter to kind of like wobble back and forth, and the back stinger broke off and it was listed as an accident. And the FAA actually called the fault of it complacency. It said that on April 7th of 2021, the pilot of the 9274 while on a solo helicopter flight was performing hovering auto rotations on the field sod area when the landing gear contacted a soft, muddy area, causing the aircraft to yaw and subsequently break the tail stinger as it rolled. No other damages or injuries were sustained. So just the stinger is a part of the tail, and it's not a huge, like, big part of the tail that broke off, but it broke off. But that was the only damage. So it was minor damage, but it was classified as an accident. So they said that the investigation revealed that the pilot failed to assess the suitability of the landing area and improper control movements during the hovering auto rotations, but no regulatory violations were discovered. So they said that his analysis was that it was complacency, and complacency means it's like overconfidence without a understanding of danger. Like you have done something so many different times that you go into autopilot kind of, and you don't think about what's happening, and you've never had a problem before. So it happens to pilots who've flown a lot. They will start missing details, or they get overconfident in what they're doing, not understanding the full risk of what's involved. And that can happen. If you get used to doing something and you become skilled, it's easy to get complacent. So it says corrective action is the pilot agreed to have a certified flight instructor fly with him to ensure control management during hovering auto rotations and hovering maneuvers. So he was basically not allowed to fly if he was going to do these hovering or maneuverings in the helicopter without a instructor. And then it says, airman had a compliant attitude and agreed to provide any and all documentation. So this actually happened near a airfield in Springdale. So only months before the crash, he gets another minor incident, and they call him complacent. And then 6 months later, so that actually happened right before Josh got arrested. 6 months later, he's in Tennessee and the plane crashes. So Jim Bob then is selling their big plane, and I don't know what this means for John David. I don't know totally how pilot stuff works, and right now the pilot involved in that crash is not listed. I don't know if there's legal consequences for crashes. I don't know a lot about planes, but the Duggars have not said anything about this. John David's got 2 incidents in the last year with flying, and that's scary if you're a private pilot and you're being hired. You're hiring someone to fly you around. Like, you should want to know that your pilot's got a clean record. And I don't know what this will mean for his private business. I don't know what the plans are at this point at all. I don't know if they're reevaluating. I don't know if Jim Bob's reevaluating now, and that's why he's selling the bigger plane. I don't know. But right now, that's this. I mean, can you imagine your plane goes down? I hope Gracie wasn't on that plane. I really hope she wasn't on that plane. Even if they survive, that's extremely scary. That's what's going on. John David Duggar's 2 plane crashes, sort of, planes that are owned by him. Although it's not said which pilot it is, I think it's safe to deduce that it was him because they're his planes and he's the only one registered for these planes in this company. And he's the only one registered of his brothers that can fly multi-engine planes. So none of his other brothers can fly multi-engine planes. He's the only one, and he's also the only one that's registered to do commercial. So that's it. He would be the only one in the family that would be able to fly the plane that was crashed. And he's the only one of the brothers, I believe, that's able to fly helicopters too. So the helicopter one was him, and I'm certain that this probably was him too because, again, he's the only Duggar that can fly these planes. So that's what I have for now. John David's 2 plane crashes in the middle of all of Josh's chaos, and lots of questions about what this means for his future, if they're going to get out of aviation, other people concerned in comments if he's doing things, if he's getting lazy. I don't know. Again, these planes go down a lot. It's scary, and I really hope this is a wake-up call for them to really be safe when they're flying. So that's what we have for now. John David Duggar, the air devil. Right? Would you fly in a plane with John David? Tell me in the comments below. Bye, guys.